Myself and Dan Halford here are part of the stallion team at Swettenham. So our basic duty is to ensure every stallion is fit and healthy from the start of the season to the end of the season, keeping them safe throughout the breeding season and ensuring any problems are noticed and picked up on in time before it impacts with coverings, etc.
So as we're leading into the breeding season, about 6 to 8 weeks before we start covering, the stallions' energy levels through their feed are slowly increased, so that they've got the energy to get through sort of consistent covering days, covering 3 to 4 a day each.
So for the shuttle stallions, when they leave Ireland, they obviously quarantine and to come to Australia, then they'll do quarantine in Australia. It's very important during that time to keep their routine as similar as to what they have had. Obviously they don't have as much downtime as Australian-based stallions, but you find that stallions are happier in a forward-going routine. So with them it's basically keeping them fit, healthy, keeping them eating all the flight downs, etc. Making sure when they're in quarantine, they're happy, they're relaxed, they're eating their grub. Feeding's a massive part of managing stallions. They have to be well fed and well grubbed at all times coming into a breeding season, because it takes a lot out of them, you know. If a horse is covering 3-4 mares a day, it's hard work for them. I know it might be everybody's dream, but it's certainly hard work for them, and they need feed during that time. That's the most important part.
Once the stallions start covering, they love their routine. They cover at the same times every day. They go to the paddock at the same time in the morning. They're fed at the same time every day. Nothing changes, whether it be a weekday or weekend. Everything's the same for them. That way they know that this should be happening at this time. They know when they'll be brought in from the paddocks. They know when they'll go out, and they know when they'll be going to the shed. Routine's very important to them, and a break in routine can affect them in many ways.
So our normal day will start roughly around 5:15, feed the stallions. Feeding them a little bit earlier gives them plenty of time to have their feed. They can then relax in the boxes, and then the mares start turning up. Once about the second week of the season comes, they're all in a routine by that stage. They know once the trucks start pulling up that they know what the job is. So they'll do their morning covers. After that, myself and Dan will turn them out to the paddocks. Everything else will go to the fields until, if they have a lunchtime cover, they'll then come in for the lunchtime cover, go back out to the paddock after that cover, and then everything comes in. Normally around 2 to 2:15, everything will be brought back in again to the stables, and then afternoon covers come. And it's just very important for them, once they realise that when they're in the paddock, they tend to be left alone, and it's just their downtime more than anything. Here at Swettenham we have some lovely paddocks down by the river, and they're all very relaxed when you go down. They all like going down there, and it's just keeping them happy is a big thing. Keeping them happy and keeping them in a routine is very important when it comes to the breeding season.
So once we're inside the shed, the mare comes in. She's her tail's bandaged, she's cleaned up behind, ready for service. The covering boots go on to protect the stallions if she does kick, and then the boys will twitch her up, bring the teaser in, and the teaser will get up on the mare, make sure that she's safe for the stallion to get up on. And at that point, the stallion comes in, does his job, and out he goes. One of the biggest things for the guys is safety in the shed. I have 3 rules for them, which I made very clear at the start of the year, and I repeat again and again, which is do everything you can not to get any people hurt, do everything you can not to get any of the horses hurt, and do not under any circumstances let a mare out of the door without semen inside it. Yeah, look, fertility's been great again this year. We're very lucky. We've got 6 horses in the shed that all get their mares in foal, so that makes my life very easy, and makes it a bit more pleasant in the crush every day when your mares are in foal. We've got a very good veterinary team. Simon Robinson's doing our reproductive work now, and he's done a great job for us. And the mares, whether they've been covered by our own or walking out to stallions on other farms, our results have been great.
So obviously Highland Reel had travelled a lot during his race career. You know, he's won on virtually every continent in the world. He was a well-travelled horse. He takes travelling pretty well. As this is his 4th year now coming back to Australia, so he's a dab hand at it now. He probably has more air miles than most other people in the world, never mind horses. He's a very straightforward horse. He just loves routine. You change his routine, he'd be kicking at the door. Basically, if you're 5 minutes late to feed him, kicking at the door. If you're 5 minutes late to walk him, kicking at the door. He thrives on routine, and he settles here very quickly, you know, like them all, like Toronado. 1-2 weeks, they're back in a normal routine. They're very adaptable creatures, and they just love the game, really, you know, and it makes it a lot easier when you're working with horses that are keen, that have a good work ethic, because horses that might not like the job as much as others, but the team here are real keen and real up for their work.
Toronado's a great horse to work with. You know, we can cover up to 4 on alternate days, and 3 is ideal. That way you're giving the stallion the most rest you can, keeping them at peak level of fertility, and you're giving your mares a better chance for each of them to conceive. As I say, he's great to work with. He's very reliable in the covering shed, and tends to stop his mares most of the time, so he's the sort of horse you want. The boys are all a bit different. Toronado, Highland Reel, they're very relaxed horses coming over to the shed. The trip from the stallion barn to the covering shed for horses like RUBICK or I'm Immortal is a bit more adventurous. They get a bit excited on the trip and come into the shed roaring. Trust and August, another one who gets a bit overexcited. But they're all horses that once they're in the shed, they know their job, they're professional, they're well trained and well handled by the lads. Yeah, I'm very lucky with the lads I've got here. 2 of the boys, they've been here for every covering every day of the season so far, and they'll continue to do so. They know the horses very well, they're very relaxed, they're very calm around the mares, and they just get the job done quietly and professionally, and extremely reliable and extremely competent people. Dan's got a lot of experience behind him. He's worked both in Australia and overseas in covering sheds and with stallions for many years, probably in excess of 20 years, I would think. And he's just brought a nice, calm, relaxed manner to the stallion area here. He gets the job done, he has everything tidy, put away where it should be, and again, just keeps to routine, which, as I said before, is just so important to the horses.
Yeah, it's been great, you know, and there's a good team of people here, very experienced people, and that's the biggest thing. When you're working in the breeding shed, things go wrong very, very quickly, and you need to have lads around you that you trust and know can handle themselves and keep everybody safe. And I think we're very lucky here to have people. We have 2 or 3 people that have worked in breeding sheds for more than 15 years, which is a big, big plus, because as I say, you have to trust the people that you're working with in there. If you're behind a mare and you have somebody on ahead that you're not trusting, you're at nothing there. You're going to get nowhere except hurt. So it's very important to have a good team in that shed and people that have a joke and a laugh, because although it is serious work, you have to have a laugh at this game. If you weren't laughing, you'd be crying. So it's very important that you trust everybody, you have a good laugh, and everybody gets on. Is a massive thing in a stallion team. So the stallions that stay here in Australia will obviously have their few months in the paddocks, downtime, relaxing, and you find that once the breeding season stops, they tend to just switch off and have their routine out all day and at night, etc. Shuttle stallions is a bit different. Obviously they return back to the Northern Hemisphere December time. They'll then do their breeding season, quarantine, etc. in the summer to come back to Australia. So with them, you have to manage their weight a lot more, and keeping their routine is a lot more important. You don't want to be knocking them out of their routine.
Yeah, look, the support from breeders has been great, as it has been over the last few years. We've got some new clients that have come on board this year, new people using the stallions, and we've got a lot of clients that have been with us now for years, and we do everything we can to look after them, get their mares in foal and get their foals right so that they stay with us.
I think the most satisfying part of the job is building the relationship with each stallion, you know, because they all have massively different personalities and none of them are the same in the way you approach them or how you work with them. So it's getting to know each one's little quirks and knowing, okay, so you don't like it that, you don't like this, all right, we'll change it up, you know, because at the end of the day, our job is to keep them happy and keep them covering. And that's massively rewarding. And then obviously, because I've come down with Highland Reel, you know, traveling horses all around the world, it's a massive responsibility, but a great experience at the same time. And it always amazes me what they're able to cope with and how they adapt to everything and how trusting they are. You know, you're taking 600 kg animals onto a crate on a plane and flying them halfway across the world, and they're very trusting animals and the way they behave around you. And it's really amazing to see that side of things.
Yeah, look, it's always fantastic to see the work that's done on farm translate to racetrack results, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. That's what we're all striving for. At this point, we're going along nicely, and hopefully we'll continue to do so and keep going upwards.